I'm just going to get that started. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you. Let's go. So I want to first of all, just before we get started here, thank you everyone for being here in attendance tonight. I and I want to just give hopefully when you're and I'll mention this also at convention, but please give a word of thanks to your executive committee members. We had really good attendance at our state convention. We had over 80% attendance from Davis County delegates, and it was higher that I can't remember the exact number, but I took a lot of pride because they put the graphic up on the um, jumbotron there at Utah Valley basketball arena and saw how many people we had there. I took a lot of pride in that, and I had nothing to do with it. It was Terry, who's our vice chair, and Alicia Brown, our secretary, and all of our ledge chairs and vice chairs. Um, did a lot of did a lot of did a lot of work getting people to that. So I oh, can Heidi, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Just remember, everyone, just to kind of mute as you come on. I'm trying to mute people as I see, but thank you. But so we got over 80% attendance. So I thought, hey, we're going to take it easy for a month, because July is generally a month everyone goes on vacation, and we have the 4th and the 24th here in the state, and so we'll get up again in August, and we'll get going so we can get ready for caucus, and then we had this resignation of our county controller, and so we had to put together an election, and we had to fill this technically by, it was either the 19th or 21st, depending on when you asked, and technically the county controller steps down on the 15th. One thing I just wanted to let everybody know is that this is the election. Okay, so I just want to emphasize how important this is. Whoever wins this election, I'll send their name, and barring something weird, and I can't see what that happened, and they will be the next county controller. The Democrats aren't getting the election. It's the Republicans get to put the next person in place, and that's why it's so important that when we vote Republican in the general elections in November, um, that allows us that allows. Randall, can you mute?
Okay, David.
So that's why it's so important that when you vote Republican, it allows us to fill that seat. It allows us to fill that seat with it allows us to fill that seat. So because of that, we were able to put this new controller in place. The same way why when Brad Wilson resigned last year from his legislative seat when he's Speaker of the House, we had an election to replace that. But this is the first time I've been involved in Davis County politics since 1998. This is the first time I can recall we've had to have a special election of the entire county. So this will, I don't know if we've ever done this before. So I want to give my thanks to the candidates for their work, and I want to thank each of them. At the other Meet the Candidate nights, I've given time for questions beforehand, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I will say that if you have any questions about this process, concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. As I said, I'm just in great interest in myself, Don Guyman, the new chair of the Davis County Party, Republican Party. But feel free to give me a call, text me, 801-574-9461. You can email me at chair@davisgop.org. If you have any questions, I want to make sure you're comfortable. Just as an FYI, with this election, we will be using ranked choice voting, which is at our Davis County bylaws. We've used ranked choice voting as a party for 20 years here in Davis County. So basically what that means is you'll be ranking your candidates. So sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions of ranked choice voting. Whoever you place number one, they'll be number one until they lose the race. So just so you know how ranked choice voting works, they'll do a initial count of the 4 candidates. They'll 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 count each of those ballots, and then whoever's the lowest vote getter, they will they'll drop them out, and then whoever their number two choice of those individuals, they'll be reallocated to those candidates, and we'll go that until one candidate gets a majority of the votes. So if you have any questions or concerns about this process, please do not hesitate to give me a call. So, or email me. So that being said, I know you're here to talk to candidates or meet candidates. So I've got some questions that we will, and these are all these are all, new questions. So, so we haven't repeated. We've had two. This is our third one, and I think we've had different questions for everyone. So we did a drawing last night. Make sure I got this. I already screwed this up once. So we got Blake Woodall's was number one. Scott Park, excuse me, is two. And Scott, are you on your camera? Because you're not showing up on my screen. If you're
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
Okay. Oh, sorry. You know what? You're on my edge because I got the timer over there, so I apologize for that. Sorry. Okay. And so I got Bill Campbell and then Tyson Plasto, and we're going to go in that order. We did a drawing last night. So what we're going to do is we are going to give each candidate 2 minutes for an introductory speech. Can everybody see my timer here? The timer?
Yes.
I can't.
Okay.
I think you need to click the OK once Don sends the notice.
So double
Or
check
open.
that. You see that now?
I see a 5-minute timer. Is that what I'm supposed to be seeing?
Oh, it should be 2. Maybe this isn't going to work the way I was hoping it was going to be.
I believe if you click the 1 minute twice.
So can you see that 1 now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go back and oh shoot, I just probably messed this up. So I do apologize. Let's see. For some reason this is now. So I might have to go back and do this my old school way. So I do apologize. Technology. Why is this not? Well, okay, there we go. All right. So everyone has 2 minutes, and if you start going on, I just may interject, but just try to keep track of that. And so we'll have opening statements starting with Blake, then Scott, then Bill, then Tyson. So Blake, go ahead.
Thank you, Don. Just to introduce myself, I'm Blake Woodall, running for Davis County Controller. I'd like to thank the Republican Party and the events that they put on. I think they've been fantastic. I've enjoyed the interactions with the delegates and the people who have come. I appreciate the engagement in our election process, and it means a lot as a candidate. To start out with, I'm a lifelong resident of Davis County. I currently work in the Davis County Controller's Office as the internal auditor. I've been there for over 8 years now. Prior to that, I have experience in public accounting and various large private corporations. And my experience ranges from working in internal audit. I've also held titles like finance manager and have experience on both the audit and accounting side, which I think is really important in this role. As I look at the most important parts of the office and the core roles of that office, I can tell you that I have experience across the broad array, including as your budget officer. My goal is to make sure that you're aware of what's going on with the budget and to be that connection between the commission and the people. The accounting team is phenomenal. They do really well. I've interacted with them on a daily basis over the last 8 years, and we have a trust and a great working relationship there. And so I know how to lead and direct them. One of the other key offices is internal audit. I currently do the work on behalf of the county as the sole internal auditor for Davis County. So I'm ready to hit the ground running. You also have tax administration and you're the purchasing agent. I can promise you from day one, I'm prepared. I'm going to get in there and ensure that we prepare the budget correctly and conservatively and represent your best interests.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me see. All right, does everyone hear that? It is nice. At least I'm getting the message. So next we got Scott. Go ahead.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Park. I want to start out by thanking you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to four guys talk for an hour about their passion for accounting. A little about me. My family and I have lived in Davis County for the past 20 years. I'm a lifelong Republican and a fiscal conservative. I've been involved in the Davis County Republican Party for the last 17 years, serving every year as either a delegate, as a precinct chair, or vice chair. And I serve because I care deeply about keeping our government transparent and accountable to the citizens. The county controller does play a critical role in county government. As is mentioned, it's the chief financial officer, it's the chief budget officer, it oversees purchasing, it administers tax appeals, relief programs. It's a position where experience truly does matter. I have that experience. I'm a licensed CPA. I've got 20 years of government finance experience, 10 years as an auditor, and then the last 11 years managing Weber County's budget and accounting office as their appointed controller. Simply put, I have years of hands-on experience in every aspect of the controller's responsibilities, and I've delivered real results. I've helped the taxpayers save over $15 million by working hard to cut spending and eliminate debt. I've performed audits that have helped the county save money and protect its assets. And I've used transparency to keep other elected officials accountable to the citizens. And finally, I know how to work well with other elected officials. I believe the county works better when we work together, and I've got proven experience in doing just that. These are the values and the experiences that I will bring to Davis County, and I would be honored to earn your vote as your next county controller. I'm Scott Park. Thank you.
All right. Just reset here. All right. Let me see. All right. Next, we have Bill Campbell.
Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Bill Campbell. I've lived in Davis County for over 30 years, married for 34, and blessed to raise 3 children throughout the Davis School District and in our community. I'm excited, honored, and humbled by this opportunity to serve you. This role requires 3 pillars for success: principles, competence, and experience. On principles, my values and actions have always been strong and 100% aligned with our party platform. On competence, others have 1 or 2 qualifications. I've earned all 5 essential certifications: CPA, CFO, MBA, CMA, Purchasing VP, to cover all 5 critical roles in the controller's office. And those aren't just letters. They represent decades of knowledge and leadership ready to benefit you. On experience, I've worked for the largest public accounting firm, KPMG, and the most efficient global automotive safety company, Autoliv, right here in northern Utah. I'm the only candidate that has led large teams in multi-billion-dollar organizations while directing strategic initiatives, reorganizing departments, and driving efficiencies that have saved hundreds of millions of dollars. We live in a fantastic community, but it is time to go from good to great. By preventing tax increases while improving the services that you depend upon, we will achieve our highest aspirations. I'm Bill Campbell, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. And next, we'll go to Tyson.
I was kind of hoping we'd get to hear that music again. That was nice. My name is Tyson Plasto. I'm running for Davis County Controller. A little bit about me. So, story goes, when my mom was it was July. My mom was pregnant with me. I was born in July. My dad was training to be a fighter pilot. And he was on a training run, and we were living in Mississippi. He was on a training run in Florida, and his plane broke down. My mom goes into labor, and so he has to swap planes with someone, get in his jet, and fly to the base in order to make it on time for me to meet me when I was born. I grew up on Air Force bases throughout the country, and when you grow up in that kind of a situation, you see these honorable men and women who are willing to lay down their lives for our country. Then you are raised in a way that if you see a need, you just step up and you fill it. So I've been asked, if you have this great job, Tyson, that you absolutely love, why are you running for county controller? And it's because I love my country. I love this community. I love the families, our neighbors, and I know that I can make a difference. I'm going to bring, if you vote for me, I'm going to bring unprecedented transparency and accountability to Davis County. We are going to cut costs in a fiscally conservative way. We're going to audit the budget every year. We're going to improve the audit quality and impact. We're going to budget with vision. And I am a proven combatant, guardian, protector, fighter against fraud, waste, abuse, and noncompliance. I have an MBA. I am a director of internal audit for the Utah Department of Natural Resources. I have a certified internal auditor. I also have an advanced certification called a certification of risk management assurance. All of that means I am ready to hit the ground running and make a difference on day one. Tyson Plasto, running for Davis County Controller. The music.
There you go. You got the music. And I don't know how to shut that off, so hopefully that's all it is. Okay, very good. So very good. Well, thank you. So this is not gonna be quite as easy as we were being in the library sitting next to each other. So hope we can kind of remember the order that you did. So once again, Blake, Scott, Bill, and Tyson. So we will go down to our questions, our question section here. And each of you, let me set my timer here. We'll have 1 minute for each question. So here's our first question. What is something you are glad that the Republican Party has done recently? And let me start this up. I didn't realize that was going to get going. So you have your full minute. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, something that I am glad the Republican Party has done recently. I feel that it is really important that private organizations be able to control their own bylaws, their own agendas. And so I feel that it's been really important that, the county's been fighting to preserve the right to have the caucus convention system and not necessarily just let the state dictate how a private organization works. I think that it's the way that you keep your government free is you have free associations. You're able to get together and work with like-minded people. You're able to set your own rules and not be controlled by the government, told what you can and can't do, how you can choose or not choose candidates to get onto the ballot to actually represent you and your party. So I would say that's one of the things that I've been really grateful that the Republican Party, especially in Davis County, has done recently.
Thank you. So next, let's see. Bill.
Yes, thank you. I'm a firm believer in agency. So one of the things governments at several levels with Republican leadership have been doing is removing regulations. I believe we've been overregulated. I believe there's been overreach by several levels of the government, but I'm very happy to see they're starting to take back, decrease the regulations, and allow us the freedom and the right to choose to live our lives the way we would like. And that's a policy and approach that I would advocate for strongly continuing, because the proper role of government is not to the extent that they're exercising that power now. That needs to be reduced. I'm happy that the Republicans have currently already started that trend in a favorable direction. Thank you.
Tyson.
So this, both recently and kind of over the past couple of years, super proud of the Republican Party and the Supreme Court justices, primarily nominated by a majority Republican Congress, that have made abortion essentially a states' rights choice, and also the efforts to defund, take away our federal funding from Planned Parenthood. I know it's gotten caught up in the courts and stuff like that, but even the effort to stop federally funding the killing of children is, I think, a beautiful thing. It is an honorable thing, and it is downright, it's a moral fight that we need to win.
And Blake.
As a fiscal conservative, I appreciate the work that has been done by Elon Musk and others to look into various programs at the federal level and identify fraud, waste, and abuse. And then once they have dug in and identified these issues, they've been able to take some action to mitigate what's going on there. In addition, also as a fiscal conservative, I think that, I know that some of these federal programs, the funding won't be there in the future. So it leads us to where states and local governments are going to have to tighten the belt and be more fiscally responsible at the local level as well. And I think that's really important in this controller's race that we're talking about today. So with the Republican Party taking the reins from the federal level and having that filter down to the local level, that's an incredible feat. And I appreciate the work that's being done now.
And we should just let that music play. That'd be better. All right, thank you. All right, so next we'll start the next round of questions. So this will be, the first person will be Bill. So what is something you wish the Republican Party had not done recently?
Okay. And again, I'll go at a federal level. I appreciate about 75 to 80% of things in the big, beautiful bill, but I am not a big fan of omnibus bills and net spending. I believe there are a lot of special packages, perks, and other things they put in there that benefit certain lawmakers and pay back certain special interests. I believe each vote should stand on its own, and that's why I advocated before for financial SOS, for standalone legislation, for offsets, and for sunsets with the clauses, SOS. The single line item legislation is critical because then everything in the bill would have to get a firm yes or no on whether or not we wanted that. But in fact, they added in so many other miscellaneous items into the big, beautiful bill, I think it distorted the message, and it was not the most efficient use of our tax dollars. Thank you.
Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, just put simply, the big beautiful bill. The the idea behind it. Let's cut. Let's save. Let's not spend money. And you know what? We're gonna go in and let's throw this additional spending in, and this additional spending. Hi Megan, how you doing? Throw this additional spending in, and by the time you get done with it, it's not as efficient and as effective as it could have been had they just focused on, let's get this job done without those extras, without the pork, really.
Thank you. Let's see, Blake.
I have a concern to some degree. I know there's been a lot of talk in national and various forms of media talking about what's going on with the releasing of information related to Epstein and the issue there. I feel like at the end of the day, we'll get to the bottom of the issue. And I think that information that people really desire and that transparency that they want will come out. And I'm hopeful of that. But I think it's really important that we see that transparency, especially with these issues, to build trust within our various law enforcement agencies, including the FBI. So I'm hoping that the doubts and the issues that are coming about now can be resolved quickly, and that we will see the transparency I think we all want and deserve.
Then Scott.
All right, I will also comment on the big, beautiful bill. From various estimates that I've seen, it adds $3 to $4 trillion to the national debt. You can go to the U.S. debt clock calculator and you can see that we're $37 trillion in debt. You can't even understand that number. We are so far in debt that our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will still be paying for the services that we've received today. I just can't support that. I am really a true fiscal conservative. I believe, as the party platform states, in paying our own way. Deficit spending is immoral, in my opinion. And so we cut taxes, that's great, but you need to cut the spending as well. If you're adding trillions of dollars to the deficit, you didn't do your job right.
So I think we got everyone on that question. So the next one starting will be Tyson. So this comes from a delegate. I'm not smart enough to write this question, so this is a delegate question. Imagine a county financial crisis. Say the federal government stopped giving you $26 million each year, and you had to cut 13% of your annual budgets going forward. Revenues are down, service demands are up, and there's political pressure to avoid cuts. Plus, a genius, maybe even elected commissioner, thinks a risky financial plan will solve everything. As controller, how would you involve the public, employees, and other elected officials to cut service or raise taxes, deal with the risky plan, explain the situation, and protect the county's financial future? Tyson.
Okay, very in-depth question. So 1 minute may not be enough. Here goes. First off, going to involve the other elected officials. Second off, we need to stop being dependent upon federal funds. Federal funds, when they come and they come without strings attached, or they come and they're appropriate to use, then fine. But we need to make sure that we are not dependent upon them. So we need to stop that practice, and we're going to need to sit down and look at, ultimately, we need to do some cuts. You can't not be bringing in revenue, and you can't lose that chunk of revenue without making some significant cuts. And so what would I do? I would gather all those people together, gather the elected officials together. All right, how can you save? Where can you pinch pennies? And then ultimately, it's the commissioner's responsibility. So I would arm them with the vital information that they need to make the appropriate decision.
Yeah.
Phew.
All right, we got to let the music go through. So very good. So next, let's see, Blake.
Having been in Davis County and been a part of the audit and finance team, I understand in depth what's going on. And I think at this time, it's really critical, even now, that we have the public involved. I've seen a lot of people come to our commission meetings, which I applaud. I would post a link to that recording of the budget committee meetings on the Davis County Controller's website. Further, I know the line items to cut. In fact, I think I would look at the travel and training budgets. There's others, specific areas I would look at. I would look at our vehicle use, mileage reimbursement is another area. There's performance audits that could also enhance and look at some areas that could potentially be cut as well. And then I think it's really sitting down at the table with the public, the controller, and your commission working together to find out what the needs are and only allocate money for those specific needs.
All right, next, Scott.
All right, I'm going to talk about a similar situation. So this was a hypothetical question, but we've run into similar situations like this at Weaver County. And what I did do is I went to the commissioners and we talked and said, look, we don't have enough money to do these things. We need to prioritize. So we had to cut everything that was the nice to have. We put a spending freeze in place on big capital equipment and improvements, building improvements. And then we went through and we said, okay, what is absolutely critical? Things like public safety, paramedic services, road maintenance, things that we have to do to keep people safe. What are things that are nice to have and important to the community, but we can scale back a little bit? We actually furloughed our Culture, Parks, and Rec department. We cut funding from there. We cut funding from the libraries. Libraries are very important, but when you're in a critical moment, you have to take care of the most critical needs first, and then you add back those things, those services as your budget allows. So that's what I would do. That's what I have done.
Right, next, Bill.
Yes, the question was posed as a hypothetical, but this is a reality we should start already be addressing. The ARP funding, we've been spending over $10 million per year. That's coming to an end next year. And there's already indications at a federal level between education, Medicaid, FEMA, that those will be stopping. So we need to be ready to respond with the new budgets. At first indication, we need to be proactive. We need to identify how much our total revenue will be in terms of the money is available. And then we simply need to go reopen the budget, every account, every department, and then prioritize it. We go through the priority, and the total amount that we prioritize should never exceed our revenue base. We should never be in deficit spending. And again, that's what each of the families have to do. And I think it's quite honorable and acceptable to expect the same from government officials. Thank you.
All right. So next question. And let's see, for this question, we'll go to Blake if I'm correct. First to start with. Okay. What are your feelings on the current staffing levels at the controller's office? Are they just right? Do you need more staff? Or are there too many staffers and some there need to be cuts made?
Let me speak to the specific areas. I'll make this quick. Our accounting team is a team of 5. Currently, we've had a retirement. That person has not been replaced. So I think that's the right size of the team. Going to our tax administration team, that's a team of about 4. The work they do and the workload they do, they put in the hours. That team is right size as well. The internal audit, that's me. That's a team of 1. I don't think you can really cut there. However, I think it could be enhanced with the use of internships and partnering with colleges to look at that to increase the work and throughput. Then you look at, we're currently without a chief deputy in the office. So that I would plan on filling, and then you have your elected controller. So I feel like right now we are running about a man down. Just because you do not have a chief deputy in place. I feel like we are right sized, but I do think there's efficiencies that could be gained through the office itself.
All right. Next, Scott.
Comparing Davis County and Weaver County, we're very similar in sizes. We actually have about the same number of people. We have 1 less in our tax administration division, but we have 5 accountants. I don't think that we would need any more staff than that to start with. I would want to look at our different processes in place and see, is there places where technology can help improve, and then maybe through attrition we can reduce that number. But my intention would be to keep the office at the staffing level it is right now, and then look to see what improvements can be made in the future to see if that could possibly be reduced through attrition or through other possible savings. Thanks.
Bill.
From my perspective, we are at the right size right now. And what we should be doing is preparing to secure efficiencies and gain economies of scale. So as the activity increases, as the population increases, as the workload increases, that we do not need to add anyone going forward. The number of government workers has gradually been steadily increasing based upon the report. We need to stop that increase. I do not foresee any reductions that are necessary, but I do believe a leader needs to take into line, how are we going to secure higher output with the same number of people going forward? That's what you need to do in private business. That's what you need to do on a personal basis. Again, and I believe the talent within the team is more than capable of achieving that. Thank you.
Tyson.
I wouldn't make any changes to the size. I will say that I don't anticipate seeing a need to hire anyone. Within the last 4 months, I've been able to, in my work at the Department of Natural Resources, I've been able to adopt processes and some of them through technology, others through other means, where we've increased the output of our team threefold. So it's a team of experts, it's a team of knowledgeable people, and we've increased our output threefold. So I have no anticipation of hiring additional people after I'm elected. Thank you.
Right. So next, we'll go to our next question. This will start off with Scott. How have you demonstrated principles of the Republican platform in your professional career?
Well, I think I kind of mentioned that when I first started. I believe in a fiscal responsible government, a limited government that knows its purpose and sticks within its bounds. And that's what I've spent the last 11 years doing. I helped the county save over $15 million by reducing a very expensive retirement incentive program that was in addition to what you get as a normal employee for retirement. I was able to work with our commissioners to pay off debt early to save interest. I was able to go through line by line with our different department heads and identify over $3 million of ongoing cuts that could be made to the budget. It's what I do day in and day out, is live those fiscal conservative principles. And you do that by looking at your budgets, by making sure that you're prioritizing what's the actual proper role of government and what's just a nice thing that somebody wants to add to it. You need to fight to keep the government scope limited so that it stays within its lane and it doesn't just continue to grow and grow and grow. Thanks.
Okay, next, Bill.
Yeah, my career has essentially been fully aligned with limiting the federal roles within the proper role of government. I believe everyone, when you work as a team, whether it be a team in a government office, whether it be a team in a private enterprise, whether it's a family or whether it's a sports team, everyone needs to understand their roles. And rather than spend time looking over your shoulder or interfering with someone else, you need to collaborate as a team. You need to use the strengths that you bring to the table. And that's the way you ultimately progress the highest level of efficiency. So I think that's key in terms of everyone understanding their roles and everyone respecting each other's responsibilities and acting in a very collaborative process. Thank you.
Tyson.
This is great. In my time in the special projects in the state auditor's office, we held a lot of people accountable. So limited government, fiscal conservative, accountability, rule of law, all of those things I fought for, I've upheld in my various positions. I'm going to go, if I can, use that as my answer, and I want to go back and I want to address something to that hypothetical earlier. I felt like I just needed a little bit more time. Let me say this, that if we don't already as a county understand what our critical needs are, what our needs are, and what our wants are, and what is the difference between them, then we are doing it wrong, and we are planning and budgeting in a short-term way. And so the very first thing that we need to do, that we need to make sure, is that everyone understands that. So again, thanks.
All right, let's see. Next, Blake.
I want to speak briefly to the issue of enroll related to being a fiscal conservative, and then specifically not to overburden our people with taxation. I think those are two very key points. And as it relates to the budget, some of our budgets, specifically our health department, rely quite a bit on federal funds. And so to eliminate them entirely would directly result to a property tax increase right away. So just to kind of bring a sense of reality to that. But I think it is our role to also look at the services we provide and ensure that we're not overstepping and even competing with private enterprise. And I think there are some areas that could be looked at and addressed to ensure that we're fiscally conservative and we're not infringing upon private enterprise and their ability to make a profit as well.
I think we got everybody that question, correct? All
Yes.
right. So the next question we will go to will be to Bill. What do you see as Davis County's most pressing financial opportunity or challenge? And how are you uniquely qualified to address it?
Okay, fantastic question. Because if you look at the package, the annual reporting package we just released, as a matter of fact, I have it right here. On page 7, it says the total job growth in Davis County in 2024 is 0.1%. We rate them on the very bottom tier within Utah. We need to be able to create jobs. We're experiencing enough challenges already with regards to inflation, the cost of housing, other utilities. Not to have the job growth is going to put a further constraint and further challenge on everyone's lives. I come from the private sector where we took less than 50 employees and moved it up to over 10,000, zero in revenue to over 3 billion. And I'm currently very active with the Davis Chamber of Commerce, helping a lot of the small businesses there in terms of getting started, getting a foot on the ground, having a consultant or someone to help through some of those early challenges that they face. So yes, uniquely capable to contribute there. Thank you.
Okay, next, Tyson.
I see it as the budgeting. Quite frankly, that with sales tax revenue not kind of keeping up with our spending, we face a tough choice. We to face a tough choice of, are we going to cut or are we going to raise taxes? And ultimately, is it the commissioner's responsibility to make that decision? And so I I'm going to dig in. I'm going to use those audit skills that I've refined and been able to dig in and find out where all the waste is, where all the potential misuse is, but where all the fluff might be. And we're gonna present them great information so that they can make the best decision for us.
Next, Blake.
Where we're just coming off a period of record high inflation with interest rates still high. I do believe it's at the budget is the biggest challenge. We're already 7 months deep into the preparation of our next fiscal year budget. It will be a race to the finish to get there and ensure that I know that our departments are working and doing what's called a stress test to see what they really need at this time. I know it will be a sprint to the finish, and we need someone such as myself who's familiar with the data and understands what's currently going on now. And I can assure you that our departments and our commission, and if elected as controller, we would work together to ensure that we would craft a responsible and representative budget. And I would love and partner with the people and the citizens to ensure that it would reflect their wants and desires from a conservative standpoint without raising property taxes.
And Scott.
So I agree in the short run with the decrease in sales tax revenue and the still sticky high inflation and interest rates. You need to start looking at the budget to see what you can trim right away, where you can tighten and where you can save. That's what I would do in the short run. In the medium term, I would start to tackle those unfunded liabilities that are on the financial statements. So if you look at the financial statements as of now, it's $24 million of an unfunded promise to employees in addition to their retirement. That's one of the things that I addressed in Weber County. It's one of the things I want to address in Davis County. If we're going to make those promises to employees, then we better start setting aside money to fund it. And if we're not going to be able to keep that promise, then we need to make a promise that we can actually keep. So that's the next thing I would do, is start tackling those unfunded liabilities. And then you've got to make sure that you're watching every year, not just for that year, but also for 3, 4, 5 years out to say, okay, where are the revenues coming in? Where are the expenditures going to be? How can I make sure we're balanced, not just this year, not just next year, but in a 4 or 5 year time frame? Thanks.
I believe we got everyone with that question. Nope. Got everyone with that question. So this next question would start with Tyson. Can you give us a specific example where you successfully implemented a financial control, budgetary reform, or audit process that resulted in measurable improvements?
Miserable or measurable?
There, let me start over. You made me laugh. Measurable. Because there's nothing that'd be miserable. Measurable. Budget cuts would never be miserable or something, but yeah, it's miserable. So, all right. So sorry. Go ahead, Tyson.
Was there a time frame on that? Did you say 4 months or what? Did you?
No, it just says, give us a specific example. This came from a delegate. Give us a specific example where you successfully implemented a financial control, budgetary reform, or audit process that resulted in measurable improvement. So there's not a necessarily time frame on here.
Okay, absolutely. So when I started at the Department of Natural Resources, they were not following internal audit standards. And which to some, maybe that's not a big deal. For me, I went in and, well, for one thing, state law says that we needed to, and so we needed to. So it has been a big lift to do that. A lot of policies, a lot of research, a lot of things that have needed to change. And in my meeting with the executive director earlier this week of DNR, he thanked me. He's like, there have been the internal audit has improved significantly here. Just the level of quality. I mean, I spoke about this earlier this week, but they we were just kind of given for one of our projects, we were just given marching orders. Hey, go take a look over there. No other directions. Through our processes that we followed, that I had set up, we were able to recover $400,000. So huge win for us.
Right. Next, Blake.
Yes. One thing I've been tasked with is looking at our internal control structure and environment across our departments. One major area is we have county purchase cards or credit cards that various people throughout the county use. At the end of the month, there's a reconciliation process. The user or purchaser has to submit that reconciliation. Then the accounting team reviews that. Sometimes there's red flags. If there are, those often come to me. And when they do, further work and investigation is done. In one situation related to purchase card use, recently we were able to identify these red flags. The controllers work. Our accounting team found a red flag. Further investigative work was done, and we were able to identify some weaknesses and some spending that shouldn't have occurred, and we were able to nip that in the bud very quickly. So our control structure was working as intended.
Okay. Next, Scott.
I like this question. So one of the first things I did after being hired on my current role is I went through the budget and we combed through and we looked not at just what had been appropriated over the last 3 years, but what had actually been spent. And so we were able to go through and find all these areas where we were appropriating money for travel, for training that was never being spent. And so we went back to the departments and said, hey, for the last 3 years, we've appropriated you money for this service or for this position, and you haven't been spending it. Why aren't you spending it? Why do you need to continue to ask for that in your budget if you're not actually using it? And what we discovered is that there was an awful lot of padding going on in the budget. They were setting aside money just in case something was going to happen. And so one of the things we did then is we consolidated and built a county-wide contingency fund and said, look, the county has a contingency fund. If something bad happens, we've set aside money for it. Departments don't need to have their own contingency fund. So we were able to trim a lot of money from the individual county departments just because they had set aside money in padding. Thanks.
So next, Bill.
Yes, excellent question. In over 30 years of business, I probably have over 100 separate cases of this. Allow me to use one for payment practices. You used to have a payment practice, nobody got paid, external vendors, earlier than 1 day before the due date. But then we realized we're missing out on early payment discounts. Sometimes they're offering 2% discounts, for instance, to pay 10 or 15 days early, which turned out to be over a 35% rate of return on the money. So what we did is we worked with some IT persons, we generated some algorithms, we put it in the system where it automatically calculated new pay dates. And by paying a couple weeks early, we're able to get 2% savings on that. At the end of the day, it required no additional personnel. It was automatically driven on IT and based upon the algorithm. And we ended up saving over $500,000 per year by taking advantage of those early payment discounts. Thank you.
And let's see, we still have Tyson this question. Is that right? No, Tyson did this. Sorry, got lost for a second.
I can go again if you want. I got more.
No, I'm sure no one would complain. No, sorry. So next we go to Blake here. So this is the first question. We'll start with Blake. How will you decide what to audit and to make sure audit findings get addressed?
Yeah, so you always start with, you look at materiality, you perform your annual risk assessments, you look at areas that may not have been audited for a while. You look at these various areas and you build an audit plan. In addition, Davis County, through me, have implemented a fraud hotline. We've had that for a very long time. Audits may pop up through that, and they have over the years. So you use these tools to put together your audit plan, and then you prioritize that as a controller and as the internal auditor. You work with department heads and put that in place. And then you work through the audit committee. And I would definitely have performance audit in there. There's a couple performance audit I would definitely plan on doing in the very near future. I would do a vehicle use and mileage reimbursement audit. I would look at the operations of the shooting range. I would look at your animal care and control. And I would look at the Davis Conference Center and your tourism group. I think there's a lot of value in the audit work, and that's how I would develop the plan in conjunction with the commission and then present it to the audit committee.
Right, next, Scott.
So I agree. You've got a one-person audit shop, which means you have to be careful in what you're using that internal auditor for. So it's got to be a risk-based approach. You need to look at what areas, what systems, what controls are most risky. You may have an audit you really want to do, and it can save the county $3,000 or $4,000, and that's great. But if you have another area where we could have spent that same time and saved $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, or you could have guaranteed the assurances of the tax system, for example, that's where you need to spend your time. So you need to look at what the risks are and where you're going to get the biggest bang for the buck, because we have one internal auditor. We have a staff of 5 that's busy doing the day-to-day accounting job. So you've really got to pick and choose what's the most important thing, what's got the best return on investment, what's going to give you the best bang for the buck. Thanks.
Bill.
Yes, you definitely want to start with a risk assessment that's based upon the likelihood and potential dollar impact. From there, you develop the plan in terms of how you go about it in the most efficient manner. I always prefer to incorporate IT controls and IT testing as well, because a lot of the data should be on the system, and some of the testing is a lot easier if it's automated. I believe that's what Doge and Elon Musk was focusing on. He's just getting access to databases and fund flows. So you can more easily test several departments, several outflow streams at the same time. And again, the comments are correct. Blake's doing a great job, but when you only have one person, you have limited personnel resources. So you want to extrapolate out the testing procedures that once you develop the method, it can be extrapolated out through all the payment systems or all the review checks. Thank you.
And Tyson.
So before I got to DNR, there was one auditor who spent 4 months on this project, and the outcome was a couple of, I think it was less than $500. So 4 months, and you figure an hourly rate of, say, $40 an hour. They were well over any kind of return on investment there, and they were well over kind of a negative impact almost. So then to compare that to the work that we did, and we spent 6 weeks on that project where we found that $400,000. Your process needs to be risk-based. What that means is you need to look at where are you going to get the biggest bang for your limited resources, where are you going to make the most positive effect, and that's how you plan. That's how you decide what to audit. And you can't get to everything. Wish we could, but it needs to be where are we going to get the biggest results.
Okay.
All right. So I think that got through all that questions. So this next round of questions, we'll start with Scott. So what lessons should Davis County government have learned from COVID?
So COVID was a very interesting time, and I was surprised personally how fast certain parts of the nation were willing to trade their liberties and their freedoms for perceived security. It was almost just astounding how fast people would be willing to trade that. And so Davis County needs to be able to be assured that if there is ever a situation like that again or going forward, we need to be able to stick to our principles. We need to understand that people have individual liberties. And if some people want to get a vaccine, they should be able to get a vaccine. If some people don't want to get a vaccine, then they shouldn't be forced to do that. The county needs to be able to prioritize and save its money so that it has a reserve fund so it can help react to things like this and not rely on the federal government to have to step in and bail it out with CARES Act money or ARPA money. It needs to be able to take care of itself. It needs to be able to set aside a reserve, and it needs to be able to ensure its own individual liberties and freedoms.
Okay. Next, Bill.
Yes, let me start on the financial side. Just because the government wrote checks doesn't mean they have any authority to take away rights or privileges of the individual. They should not have used our tax dollars basically to pay people to follow their commands and desires. And they should have never violated the rights. Even if it's an emergency, I'm a firm believer in agency. Each individual should have his or her right to choose their outcome, their direction, and their plan. We as a county need to be able to stand behind the individual rights and push back if the federal government's overreaching on some of those policies and taking away some liberties that all of our neighbors and citizens should enjoy. Thank you.
Next, Tyson.
This was very clearly a planning problem. This was, holy cow, we were caught blindsided. This should not have happened. How hard is it to conceptualize that if a global pandemic happens, then there's going to be supply chain issues, that there's going to be these threats on liberty. Do we mask up? Do we not mask up? What about supply of personal protection equipment? Do we have stores of that if we need it? Even just going through the exercise of planning, hey, global supply chain may be impacted for a number of reasons. What are we going to do to address that? There may be a struggle to get to work. Not necessarily even pandemic related, might be earthquake related. What are we going to do to address that? This was a huge planning problem. We need someone in the office that can lead with foresight and with vision, and I can do that.
Which was that minute was only about 2 seconds shorter, but nevertheless. So Blake.
I think the key word is contingency planning. I think that each office needs a contingency plan in the event something like what we call like a black swan event, which I believe COVID was to occur, and then come up with ideas on how to address that. I can give you an example of what our golf courses did because of COVID. It literally changed the business model for our golf courses. It changes the way they accept and book their tee times. And that has been very beneficial for the county because our golf courses run on an enterprise fund. And as a result, they are ran to make a profit. And they have been very profitable, especially since COVID. So I think lessons learned, the golf course, we should model that kind of activity. Not that every department's going to run to make a profit, but the golf courses handle that very well. And I think we should model a lot of our decision making and lessons learned based upon what they have done. In addition to that, never infringe upon the rights of people's civil liberties. Government should not be doing that.
Right. So I think got everyone through that question. So the next questions round will start with Bill. How would you use AI in the county controller's office?
Okay, AI is an extremely valuable. Did you have a question, Don?
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, AI is going to become part of the reality. It's no longer a question whether or not it's going to exist or whether or not it's going to impact our work. It's going to impact every role and every job. The key is to be able to exhilarate some of the services and capabilities of each employee so everyone becomes more and more efficient with regards to their work. The best way to do is to start to train our workforce now on how to use the technology to generate those efficiencies. And I would also advocate for pushing that down into the individual school children and teenagers, because that's going to be critical for each of the job growth going forward. And once we learn how to do it, AI will enable those technologies to expand out to the other departments. So I believe we should have at least 1 or 2 resident experts within the county to help teach others and generate programs that create efficiencies county-wide.
Good. Next, Tyson.
I don't know if I'd use the term expert, but I've met with and I've studied with the people that are the leading edge of this. First thing we would need to do is we need to set up controls. As a controller, you set up controls. What will that look like? A policy to say, hey, here's the rules. You can use it in these situations. We need to protect against hallucinations. That's when AI basically makes stuff up to please us. We need to protect against we just outright false reporting and misquotation, and we need to protect against private information that should be protected from going out and being used in servers that are used who knows where throughout the world. But then we need to make sure that we are using it, and that when those processes are set up in place, they can increase our productivity multiple folds. And so that's part of the reason why I don't think we needed to hire new people.
Next, Blake.
I can tell you right now, I would partner with our information systems director, Jeff. He's a great guy. He comes from an IT audit background. He is on top of the county's use of AI and setting policy and procedure as we speak. In addition to that, I would partner with him and talk about acceptable uses and also a term computer assisted audit techniques, how we could implement that into our audit work to become more efficient. And by partnering with our IS group and with the knowledge and background I have from working as your internal auditor, I know that we would be able to gain efficiencies within the department while protecting our data and mitigate any negative impacts from it as well.
Scott.
So AI is the future. I have family members that work in accounting in the private sector, and they don't accept paper invoices. They don't accept emailed invoices. Everything goes through an electronic data interchange. It's processed, it's reviewed, it's analyzed by artificial intelligence, and then the decision is made to pay or not pay. Now, yes, of course, you have to set up controls. You have to make sure the process is designed appropriately. But once you get that process up and running, AI computers are very good at doing routine transactions over and over and over again. I foresee the time where you submit an application for tax relief or tax abatement, and you don't even need a human to touch it. The system will take it, it'll strip out the data, it'll process it, it will come up with the questions that still need to be answered. It can answer questions. If you type in a chat, I have a question, instead of having to call somebody, pay an employee to pick up the phone and answer it, you'll have AI be able to answer those questions, provide chat responses. So I'm very excited for the future of what AI holds in terms of government efficiency.
All right, next question. This will start with Tyson. What is something you have learned during this campaign?
I have learned as I've met with people, as I chat with and chat with them and listen to their concerns. I have learned that people are concerned about the budget. They are concerned both about raising taxes and about cutting the budget. People are concerned about not really knowing what's going on in Davis County, and yeah, and not being able to understand even all the problems that Davis County is facing. And so I'm going to dig into the budget. I'm going to dig in with an auditor's eye for the detail, and I'm going to be bringing an unprecedented level of transparency and accountability to Davis County. We're going to make it happen, and I'm never going to forget that we report directly to the people. Thank you.
Okay, next, Blake.
In meeting with delegates and citizens, there is a lot of concern about the budget and potential property tax increases and what may come of that. And I think we're all feeling the pinch having come off inflation. Having said that, I think there's people aren't aware of some of the information that is currently being published on the Davis County Controller's website. And part of what I want to bring is a clear relationship and a gateway for our citizens and taxpayers to communicate and to continually hear their issues and concerns, and to make sure that they understand in a very usable way the reports that come from the controller's office, so that they understand where we're coming from. And if there ever are potential tax increases needed, why? And have we taken all necessary measures to cut before we go and ask for money. And I would like to be that bridge that gap and explain why.
Next, Scott.
It's almost like we're talking to the same delegates. The biggest concern that I've heard is, what's property tax going to do? Why does it keep going up? And there's just a lack of understanding of what the budget actually entails. Now, I agree that there's a lot of information that's available on the website if you know where to look at it. But if you go as just a regular citizen and you pull up a 150 or 200 page budget book, it just doesn't make much sense. If you pull up a 150, 160 page financial statement, it just doesn't make sense to your average citizen. And so I think one of the things that needs to happen is we need to be able to package that information and be clear and transparent in a way that's understandable to everybody. And when we do that, then the citizens can help hold us accountable as elected officials, hold the commissioners accountable to the budget, and really make sure that if there is property tax increases, that there's a valid, legitimate reason that's within the proper scope of government, and it's something that can't be paid for by cutting internally. Thanks.
Thanks. Bill.
Yes, I knew well before the campaign the high level of concern with regards to property taxes and the increased spending. That was quite evident in the community. The thing that surprised me most is the lack of information to be able to provide the follow-ups. And just to give a couple of examples, again, great annual report just released, but about 160 pages. Very difficult for the average person to learn. The 2025 budget, 100 pages, and it just listed the department, the expense activity, and the amount. Not really what they're doing and the benefit that you're supposed to get out of it. We need to provide more and more information and get the public involved with regards to that decision making so we can make the best priorities. So my biggest surprise was the lack of the full disclosure with some of the information and a relatively minimal amount of involvement with the exception of the delegates. They're highly informed, quite involved in the process, and we need that passion in our community to take that next step forward.
Last person, Tyson.
I think I started this one, didn't I?
Yes.
I apologize. I was just priding myself that I had not gotten confused one time.
You were just testing
really
me.
during
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I was trying to see if I was testing the honesty. So, sorry about that. So
I promise I'm awake.
So next question. Now, this will be the last question that we'll have. Then we'll go to the closing statement. So this will start with Blake. What are your educational, your professional background, and licenses you have which make you qualified for this job?
Absolutely. My background is in accounting. That's what my degree is in. That's what I studied. In addition to that, I'm a certified internal auditor and have worked and have the titles of internal auditor. I've been a finance manager. I've held the title of accountant, accounts payable. I've worked across both disciplines in the accounting and the audit world throughout my career. I've worked in public accounting, and this gives me a unique perspective to handle the five, in addition to being in government for accounting for over 10 years and audit. I know what it takes to lead and direct the accounting team. I've worked with them on a daily basis and have a great working relationship with them. I know internal audit. I do it every day. As a budget officer, I can lead out on that. And the purchasing agent, I have the skills and experience in tax administration. They're great people, and I understand the hard work that they do and will work with them.
Scott.
Thank you for the question. So I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I have a master's in business administration. I have an active certified public accounting CPA license. I've got 10 years of experience as an auditor following governmental auditing standards. I've got another 11 years leading the budget and accounting office of Weber County. I've prepared the financial statement for Weber County every year since I've been there. I've prepared the annual budget in Weber County every year since I've been there. I currently sit on a task force for the Governmental Accounting Standards Board to help rewrite their revenue and expenditure accounting standards. So I'm very familiar with all types of accounting standards. And I have experience leading a team and managing, and I know what government does. I know what it doesn't do. And that's my experience and that's my qualifications. Thanks.
Bill.
Yes, for each of the 5 critical roles that the controller serves, I have proven credentials in all 5. As I referenced before, the CPA, CFO, MBA, CMA, and the purchasing VP, each of those have proven technical qualifications that directly cover all of the individual facets. In over 35 years in business, I've seen these roles from several different perspectives. The KPM work was through a public accounting organization and then through the internal audit department, and then both between a SEC publicly traded company in terms of the individual compliance. And most importantly, my differential between the other 3 candidates is the private sector enterprise. The private sectors are the customers for everything we're generating here. So we have several people knowledgeable on the government side, what the government needs. I bring the experience from the private sector for all the local businesses that are the key customers.
And Tyson.
So, gosh, I'm an internal auditor. I have a certification of internal. I'm a certified internal auditor, certification of risk management assurance. I'm the director of internal audit at the Department of Natural Resources, which is an executive level position. I have years of experience working in the state auditor's office. Now, let me tell you about auditing. Auditing, you need to know what you're talking about when you go in and tell someone that they're doing it wrong. And so I have years of experience doing that. I've looked into simple things like purchase cards. I've looked into complex things like concessionaire contracts and other contracts and purchases that are statewide. Auditor Dougal used to tell people in the auditor's office, don't make a purchase without Tyson looking at it. And I have the expertise to get in. I am a problem solver. I can make a difference.
So now we're going to go to our closing statements, and we'll give everybody 2 minutes for that. And so we'll start with Scott.
Thank you. So again, in closing, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here tonight and for caring enough about good government to be a part of this process. I really do appreciate that. I've been a delegate for many years, and I realize that it's a sacrifice. It takes a lot of time. I'm running to be your next county controller because I believe that experience matters, especially when it comes to managing your taxpayer dollars. And I have that experience. I've done this job for 11 years. I've done every aspect of it. I know how to do it. I've done it well. And I've been guided by conservative principles in doing that. I believe in limited, efficient, and transparent government. It's not just a slogan. It's how I've worked through my entire career, and it's how I will continue to serve the people of Davis County. And I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Bill.
Yes, thank you everyone for your time this evening. You have a very critical decision to make in 5 days, because this controller role will significantly impact your future and that of your children. Now, we each have government experience. Admittedly, the 3 other candidates have more government experience than I do. My primarily focus has been on the private side. So one of the main things I'm asking you is, who do you believe can really change the government, control the costs, and make the changes and the improvements necessary to take us to the next level? Persons that have been in the government for 10, 20 years, the majority of their life, or someone that has exposure, but has also been out there in terms of the private sector in a very cost competitive environment, driving the initiatives, doing the reorganizations. That's where I bring the experience with the fresh ideas and new solutions. Thank you.
Let's see, Tyson.
All right. I really appreciate all of you because you're not politicians. You show up to your caucus meeting. It's hectic. It's crazy. Where do you go? Oh, it's that room. You go up there. You're meeting with your neighbors, some you've never seen before. You're just really most of the time, you're just trying to get out of there, trying to see, you listen to the speeches and whatever from your neighbors. And then you're elected a delegate or chosen, maybe you're volunteered. And you're showing up for them, for your neighbors. I appreciate that. I, like you, I'm not a politician, and I will never be a politician. I realize there's a certain level of irony in that, being that I am running for an office. But here's what that I mean. I will not lie, hate, or demean. I will not break any promises. I won't forget who I serve, that I serve you, that I serve Davis County, that I serve our families. I'll never do any backdoor dealing, and I will never, ever back down from protecting our, our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We need unprecedented transparency in Davis County in order to make a difference so that we can have unprecedented accountability. We need to cut costs. We need to make hard decisions. And we need someone that knows how to dig in and find solutions. I am a problem solver. I am an expert problem solver. We need to improve our audit quality so that way we can avoid witch hunts. So that way we know we are making the impact that Davis County families need. We need someone who can budget with vision, who's not being short-sighted, who understands the difference between this is a critical need and this is a want. We need someone with the experience that has fought against fraud, waste, and abuse and non-compliance. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
And Blake.
I know the people, I know the processes, and I'm ready to lead on day one. And because of that, I will work, I have worked with your commission, your department heads, and the employees in your controller's office. I have relationships with them, and they have respect the work that I have performed over these many years. I will lead and direct the audit team. It's an award-winning accounting team. I'm already leading and directing the internal audit function. Our performance audits have brought great value and cost savings to you, the taxpayers, over the years. In addition to that, in the budget process, I will partner with you, the people and the citizens, so that when it's the responsibility of our commission to approve and adopt that budget, they have all the information in front of them, because I will have carefully crafted it and worked with you to refine it. In addition to that, I will ensure the transparency of what the office is doing in every way. And I have been the watchdog for you over these many years in a silent way. I will be that in a more visible way. I thank you for your time and talents as you decide who your next controller is. And I would be honored to lead and direct the Davis County Controller's Office on your behalf. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say, I truly appreciate the candidates. I appreciate, we've had, this is our third Meet the Candidate night, and all of these have been very professional and very informational, and everyone has conducted themselves in a professional manner. I want to say that. I appreciate each of you delegates who have been here. We've had about 50 people to each of our Meet the Candidate nights, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. I will say, take a moment. I'd encourage you to read the party platform. A lot of people ask about why this is a partisan role. This is nonpartisan. To me, this is partisan. To me, the Republican Party platform can be adopted and it can be followed at every level of government. I really wish we had every office as partisan, whether it be city council, school board, because the Republican Party platform is a platform that is for everyone. And I always say this, that a strong Republican Party committed to its core principles of limiting government, lowering taxes, and protecting our God-given rights is essential to our children. And your involvement helps make this a stronger party, helps with a stronger county. And I look forward to each of you for your being here tonight and for your service as delegates. And if you have any questions or concerns, always do not ever hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you. And everyone have a great night, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Good night, everyone.
Right.